not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
And we are live. Greetings to everyone watching live and everyone watching after the fact. Shout out to the faithful and salute to the patrons. This is Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief.
And this is your boy RBG signing in with OAW, the Transformers enthusiast, here to just give my take / review. So yeah.
Tonight, y'all, I had to go ahead and I had to enlist the expertise of my resident Transformer expert, my man RandomBlackGamer. Had to bring him in for tonight, man, because tonight we are going to give you all our review of Netflix's new original animated series, Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy, Chapter 1, entitled Siege. So we're going to go ahead. We are going to review all 6 episodes for you all tonight. We're going to break this down to the best of our ability. But real quick, before I forget, if you all have any questions or comments that you want to make sure get answered by either one of us before the end of tonight's broadcast, you can always drop a super chat. You can also support the channel via Cash App or PayPal. Links are in the description box below for those as well. And real quick, just another little plug. If you guys have a request for a television series you would like to see reviewed right here on OAW Entertainment, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW and select the blockbuster tier. Or you can select the Crunchyroll tier if it is an anime. But that is patreon.com/OAW. All right. And with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get ready to jump into this review. Once again, as always, I will be giving you all some background information and a brief synopsis of the series via the description below. So please feel free, hit see more in the description box below and feel free to read along with me. All right. So in this video, I am joined by RandomBlackGamer to review the 2020 Netflix original anime series Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy, Chapter 1, Siege. Based on the Transformers franchise by Hasbro and Takara Tomy, the series was produced by Rooster Teeth, Allspark Animation, and Polygon Pictures. The series was written by F.J. DeSanto, George Krstic, Gavin Hignight, and Brandon M. Easton, with DeSanto also serving as the series showrunner. And very brief synopsis of this series. Cybertron has been ravaged by the civil war between the Autobots and the Decepticons. In an attempt to end the conflict, Megatron considers using the Allspark as a last resort. But Optimus Prime wants to prevent that from happening, even if it means destroying Cybertron in order to save it. So, very, very, very brief synopsis of the series. But so RBG, man, let's go into a little bit more detail, kind of inform the audience. Well, real quick, I tell you what. How you feeling tonight? You want to do non-spoiler? You want to do spoiler? What you thinking?
Hey man, and we could just give our general thoughts on the series as a whole, and then just gradually segue into spoiler territory if you want to, or we could just go all out and just lay everything out on the table because the series has been out for a while. It's a quick digestible series since it is like 6 episodes. So whatever way you want to do it, we can do it.
All right, I tell you what. How about this? For the sake of tonight's stream, since I got you on board and I know there's a lot of stuff you want to get into with this series, how about we go ahead and we do this one? We gonna do spoilers in this one. Just because, like I said, the series been out for what has been about 5 days or so, because it came out last Thursday. Right. But here's the beautiful thing about it, though. It's only 6 episodes, like you said, and the total, I think the total watch time is like less than 3 hours. So you will actually finish this series before you finish a single Lord of the Rings movie. Basically. It is the entire series is shorter than any intro in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And yes, I'm including The Hobbit. So with that being said, I think we just need to go ahead and do spoilers tonight. So a little bit more information about what all the series entails. Essentially, the series takes place in what I guess you could say is like the final week of the Civil War on Cybertron. And as I mentioned in the synopsis, this is the point in time in the conflict between the Autobots and the Decepticons where they discover the Allspark. And so it's sort of at that point it sort of becomes like a race to find the Allspark, right? And then of course some of my audience who are familiar with Transformers might be familiar with this part of the typical story. Optimus wants to use the Allspark, get it off world to keep it out of Megatron's hands. Megatron, on the other hand, wants to actually weaponize its power and use it to end the war. So for the most part, that's pretty much like the overarching thing. There are some, intricate, some details in between there, the role of some characters, such as like Bumblebee's role, how that sort of rises to prominence throughout the story. We see the same thing with like Starscream, how his role sort of gets bigger. And then we have some turns, some surprises, twists here and there. But yeah, man, I say we just go ahead and let's jump into the story. So yeah, let's talk about the writing for this. Now, for the sake of this one, I'm going to be deferring to you in terms of Transformers, like mythology, Transformers lore, because you an OG with it. You know what I'm saying? You G1 OG, right? So, okay. So first things first. This series is not a direct adaptation of any previous Transformers property.
Well,
it's sort of like a retelling.
It's a retelling with certain inclusions of the lore from like I think the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they utilize that, and the whole concept too. Like the way this is basically like Hasbro's usual business model of promoting the toys, because this particular chapter is based off of the Siege toy line.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then the later chapters are also going to be based off the other toy lines, such as the Earthrise toy line and the Kingdom toy line, which is the Beast Wars saga. So you're basically seeing these designs used, and the way it's done is through like what they call CAD models. Like they take the actual CAD models. This is a thing that Takara's been doing ever since the OG Zoid series, like Zoid Zero Century, where they just take the CAD model 3D structures of these and they just throw them into the series or whatever. So it's basically it's basically a cross promotion, and anything that you see with a toy, it's what you see on the show is what you can do with the toy in a sense. But it's a cross promotion, and they're taking like various things from the mythos and applying it to the storyline.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do we want to start off with the writing? Because there were a couple of surprises in this story for me. Essentially because, as I mentioned earlier, you an OG, G1 when it comes to Transformers. And you know what's funny about this? Dude, 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with my big cousin, who's also a G1 OG. Like, he came up with it, right?
Yeah.
In real time. And so, and it was funny because he made the comment because we were talking about like franchises being like reintroduced and reappropriated like in different sort of like generations. And so he brought up Transformers. He was like, oh, because I came up with it, G1, whereas, you might have came up with the movies. And I was like, I beg your pardon, sir. And he was like, oh, my fault. He was like, no. You the Beast Wars generation. I'm like, yeah, thank you. But like, but see, that's the thing. It's like that was my introduction into the franchise, and I didn't really start getting more into the mythology until some of the older later series,
mm-hmm.
like the what was it? The O1? I think the Robots in Disguise series.
Yeah, you have Robots in Disguise, and then you have the Unicron Trilogy, which consists of Armada, Energon, and I think Cybertron.
Yep. So those two series was sort of like the big thing, because those were the last two animated series before the first movie. Right. In 07. And then of course, I got down on Prime when that came out. I freaking loved Prime. Go check out Prime if y'all have not seen Transformers Prime.
Oh yeah, and I want to mention the people, the studio that did the animation for this, Polygon Studios, they actually did the animation on Transformers Prime as well.
Yeah, God, oh man. Ooh, Prime is so good. So good.
Yeah, it is.
And then there is the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, the two video games, right? I was big into those, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell out because after Prime, I know we continued because what's the series right after Prime? The one when Bumblebee becomes
Robots in Disguise. That's what they call it.
The updated Robot in Disguise with Will Friedle voicing Bumblebee. Like I saw a couple of episodes of that, but that's kind of where I fell out of it. So
that's basically that whole thing, like that whole trilogy is known as the aligned continuities, where they started off with the Cybertron games and then they went into Prime and then they went into Robots in Disguise. So that's basically a continuity within itself, with the Cybertron games serving as the starting point.
Well, were those supposed to be in continuity with the video game?
Yeah, but like it's kind of weird because the showrunners, they didn't really care to keep everything, consistent with what the games had established, so they kind of went in their own direction. But Hasbro, being the marketing team that they are, they want to try to label it, the aligned continuity, because certain things still apply. You still have the concepts of Dark Energon and other little, things that they established.
RBG, bro, we remember what happened to Bumblebee at the end of Fall of Cybertron.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Like,
so how are those supposed to be in continuity?
And you know what I said? This is what pisses me off, because this, we don't like to mention this game, Rise of the Darkspark, which is basically like a cash grab of like merging Fall of Cybertron and the movie verse together.
But I heard that one wasn't that bad though.
It's pretty bad. It's a broken game. Like, it's basically just a mission mesh of like Dark of the Moon, the video game, mixed in with Fall of Cybertron, and the story, the explanations given on how those two separate universes are, connected was BS.
Yeah.
And I feel like Activision and Hasbro could have used that to actually connect the dots between Transformers Prime and Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, but they never did that.
That was going to be hard to do because that was going to be hard to do because Prime works so well as its own like contained thing. If you want to spin out of that, that's cool. But yeah. So I said all of that to say this, because it's like, my whole perspective with the franchise is sort of like, sort of new age, whatnot. But I do know, because I've seen, some of I've seen some of I haven't seen all of G1. I've seen some of G1 and whatnot. But like, so I was coming into this series, right, with the expectation. Yeah, I know. Here we go with this, right? Because I loved War for Cybertron. Fall of Cybertron was okay. I thought the campaign mode was a little too easy.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was solo campaign, which that was my biggest complaint with that game, because the original one you could do up to 3 players in the campaign.
Right.
But the story for that though, like those games and pretty much detailing like the final year. Well, actually, no, it's not the final year of the war. It's the entire war, if you think about it. Because in the video game, we see Megatron become... Yeah, we see Megatron and Optimus both become the leaders of their respective factions.
Yeah.
And then Fall of Cybertron ends before we actually get to see them leave Cybertron.
Exactly. They don't really, show the aftermath of what happens, when they go through the whole, which we know that they go to Earth. We don't see that, but we do see the events leading up to it.
Right. Yeah, because the last shot of Fall of Cybertron is the Ark leaving. Well, because that's the thing. Optimus has to stay behind so that the Ark can escape.
Exactly.
So, but my thing was, it's like, so when this got announced, I was hoping that we were finally going to get like an animated adaptation of that story. That's not what this is. Because this series, like I said, this series is like the final week of Cybertron. The war has already been going on. It's been going on for years now. Did they ever mention like specifically how long it's been?
They don't go into specifics on that, but they try to give you certain things to exposition of what happened. You know what I'm saying? Which is something that I want to get into later, but they never really give you exact timelines and what's happened for these characters to get in their certain, like in specific positions. Like how long did it take Megatron to rise to prominence, to get to be the leader or the High Lord, as they like to say, of Cybertron and the leader of the Decepticons. They never really give specifics on how long it's been, since this war has been going on.
And we know it's been a minute, because when we finally get introduced to Ratchet, essentially Ratchet is sort of like semi-retired at this point. So we know it's been years, right? But yeah, it's like I was hoping that this series was going to show us like the actual origin. And instead, what they showed us is what we've already knew and what we've always known, because we start every Transformers series like this. We know there's a war on Cybertron. We know that. Well, okay, so I'm gonna get into the Allspark thing later. All right, but generally the way it goes is there's a civil war. The planet is dying, and whether it's because the planet became destitute on its own, or if the war was what caused it, regardless, they have to flee the planet. We already know about the different factions, the different philosophies. It's the same. It's okay. If you saw the first 5 minutes of the Bumblebee film, you've seen this series.
Yeah.
You've seen this series to the point where in the the opening shot of the damn first episode is looks straight like out of that sequence in that movie. So that was the one thing I found that was kind of disappointing. I'm like, dude, we don't get enough downtime with these characters and understand where they've come from, how they've gotten there, why they have their character motivations. We only get that with a few characters, but not all. Right. Same, because all of them, they all have their own unique personalities, and they all seem to have like ideologies, and this is a different interpretation of Optimus than we've ever gotten, because this is a more edgy, a little wet behind the ears, a little apprehensive, and kind of borderline dumb in certain. I hate to say it, but this is edgy Optimus.
Right, and it's a shame though. Like you say, we don't get a chance to see where these characters come from and what they're about.
We have edgy Optimus and we have diplomatic Megatron.
Right.
Like that was kind of the thing that was tripping me. I'm like, he's a lot more civil than I'm accustomed to him being.
And you can kind of agree with Megatron in a way with a lot of things, And I didn't really have a problem with that, because there are certain iterations of the character that is pretty diplomatic and stuff, but it's just the way it's executed.
I'm just saying we represent over here. You know what I mean?
Oh man, you got me feeling bad that I ain't wear my shirt, man.
We represent for Lord Megatron. That's all I'm saying. But yeah. All right. So we'll touch on each of the characters specifically in a minute. All right. So riddle me this then, because as I mentioned before, I really want to defer to you in terms when it comes to like the Transformers lore and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of like this series story, all right, knowing what we know for the most part about like this period in time in the backstory, all right. My first question for you is, let's talk about accuracy. Because the series takes so many, like as you mentioned before, they take creative liberties with some elements that they incorporate from other things. So if this is supposed to be, because the way Netflix frames is like, this is like the quintessential origin story,
right?
How much of that is actually true, and how much of it is things that were brought in because we're trying to set up for what we're going to be doing in the other 2 chapters,
right? Yeah, like in terms of accuracy, I'd say it's on point in terms of like how they escape, except I don't remember the Allspark really being that much of a key component, like outside of anything else. I say it's probably a component in, obviously the Michael Bay movie, which is all about the Allspark at first before they just start launching out all these other MacGuffins. And then you have Transformers Animated, where they also have the Allspark as a key component to Cybertron's life force. So that right there, I can say that they took about 70% of the origin story from how they left and stuff like that. But in terms of the actual characters. Did you want me to talk about the characters?
Well, just like just
the story.
Like just the story and sort of like the background and stuff. Cause like you brought up the Allspark thing, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Allspark is a new term. That's not a G1 term.
No, that's not a new. That's not a new term. Well, it is a new term. It's not a classic term. Is what I mean. Yeah, that's basically new. Cause
isn't Allspark, wasn't that created for the movie?
Yeah, it was. They were going to use the Matrix, but then they were like, we don't want to do this because, there's a certain movie, franchise called the Matrix, so we got to call it something else. And so they came up with the Allspark.
Okay, so now we're about to have a funny little conversation about terminology and definitions, because if the idea in the Bay films was that the Allspark was supposed to be the Matrix of leadership, that's not what we've made the Allspark since. Because since we've made it essentially like the like the lifeblood of Cybertron.
Yeah.
Because which continuity is this from? Because I always thought that the core of Cybertron was the core of Primus.
Yeah, and basically, if you read into the mythos of the Allspark, that's basically what it is. It's an extension of Primus. Mm-hmm. Just like the Matrix of leadership is an extension of Primus as well, and it pretty much chooses the leader of the Autobots and hope that one day they'll try to come back to Cybertron and restore life to Cybertron.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a lot of different mythos that they use for those two particular concepts, which is probably why the Matrix of leadership takes a back seat in this show.
We have it though. It's in this one though.
We have it, but it doesn't really serve a general purpose of the story, like to the story or whatever. Like they talk about it.
Yeah, we just know that in this series, we just know it was sort of a what's the term I'm looking for? Not heirloom, but sort of like it was a rite of passage.
Yeah,
that was handed down to Optimus. Like, we do know that.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, but that's about it. They never really utilized it for anything pertaining to the story. They just mentioned that he has, which is another thing that it's just like one of the main things that I find an issue that I take issue with this story is just how we basically just mention things and just move on. It really doesn't serve a purpose.
Yeah, which is going to bring me to my next one. The Alpha Trion protocols. I was not familiar with that at all, and I couldn't. And I'm like, is that a thing, or did they make that for the series?
It's probably like a deviation to like something called like the Omega key, which is basically
I do know the Omega key. I know the Omega key.
Yeah, like the
I'm
Omega
familiar
key
with that one.
And the Omega lock, which has like some kind of secrets or access to the Cybertron or whatever. But yeah, like the Alpha Trion protocol, I think I've heard about that from one of the IDW comic books, but I can't really pinpoint what exactly, like what's the exact purpose it served.
Yeah. Let me see. What else did I want to get into about the writing before we jump into characters? Because let's see. Okay, how about this? Because here's another question I had with the backstory, or what little we actually get of it, which is another thing I think the series could have, done a better job with. The classism,
right?
That apparently exists in the backstory between the Autobots and the Decepticons, where the Decepticons are essentially like this endangered class, this servant class or this slave class. I don't remember running across any of that in Transformers lore.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's established up in the IDW comics, written by I think James Roberts, or Robert. Is it Robert James? Or I think it's Robert James. He established that, and what it was basically about was this hierarchy of Transformers who were like descendants of the original 13, actually like laying down the laws that, okay, we're going to start something called functionism. And based on your, whatever job that you have is going to be based off of your vehicle mode. A lot of Constructicons and people like Megatron, who had these vehicle modes that were, good at hard labor, they got through into these mines, while like the Autobots, they were close with the Senate. They got to do like other things, like have these pampered positions and consume all the energon while like all the Decepticons. Like you remember the two mini Decepticons like Ravaged and what was the other guy's name? Was it Ravaged? Well, you remember the two small Decepticons that Soundwave would eject out of his chest, and they had the power driver arms.
Yeah.
Rumble and Frenzy.
Yeah.
Like that. Those guys were used for hard labor jobs. They were pretty much sent to the mines to find energon and stuff for low pay or whatnot, and they were treated like dirt. While the Autobots, they had a more regal sense. And that's the thing that kind of pissed me off. It's like they have something that they can actually work off of, but they never really go in depths with it.
Right.
The idea of functionism, just that idea in general, is a cool and creative idea, especially when it comes to just saying that this isn't your typical story of good guy and bad guy. There are reasons why these people are bad,
Right.
Yeah, Megatron actually has like his Joker moment where he just has that one bad day and, shit just hits the fan. That's how, he basically rises to prominence. He overtakes the authorities like in the Autobots in the Senate, and he, ends up in his position.
Right. See, because what's funny about the functionism thing, once again, I'm gonna bring this back to the video game, because in the video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have classes,
right?
And depending on what the class was, that was depending on what your vehicle mode was going to be, and why was it that the scientists were the jets,
right?
Because of what their vehicle mode allowed them to do and what they were able to do, like setting up the battle entries,
right,
being able to heal other Autobots, stuff like that. They had to be able to maneuver quickly to get to other people. Why was it that the soldiers were actually the physically strongest class? Right. Whereas opposed to what I dug about that was because even in the game, the characters also fell in line with said classes. Like Optimus was a leader, duh, but Megatron was a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
He was a warrior.
And then, like, what was it? I think Bumblebee was a scout.
Yeah, he was a scout. Yeah.
Yeah, Bumblebee was a scout. Starscream was a scientist.
Yep.
Right. So, even there, like that notion of functionality and whatnot, like, makes sense. But yeah, that's almost not even important in the series.
It's aimlessly insinuated to a sense, It's like they harp on it, but it's so brief that some people might miss it, because they want something more out of the series, like they want more action or something. They don't pretty much care about the dialogue and stuff like that. And it's just crazy because, like, you see certain characters talk about certain things. Like you heard, what was his name? Red Alert. It's like, I used to be like a doctor or something like that, but now I'm a soldier, like I got a gun and I'm a soldier, stuff like that is what really, hammers home this idea of these characters that have these different classes. And then you have characters whose jobs were affected because of the war that they really don't even harp on. Like soon as Bumblebee mentioned something about, what was that? The space bridge, mentioned that he went to a planet called Velocitron, I instantly thought about Blur, because Blur is a Velocitronian, which is basically a class of robots specifically meant for racing. They had their own racing, like planet and stuff, and people would go see them, and Blur was famous. But after the war happened, everything, just went down because of that. And you get to see all these different characters adapt to this and join these different factions because they want to, they might like something that Megatron says that serves their ideology or whatever.
Yeah, and that was the other, like, what you were talking about, where it's like they pay lip service to it, but they don't really go into detail about it. Like, dude, when Optimus had the whole line about you could have been Cybertron's greatest leader, when he said that to Megatron, and I'm like, based off of what?
What exactly?
Like, you telling us, but you're not. It's tell not show, right? And it's like, oh, dude, this is a visual medium. You need to show us why. Why would Optimus of all people say something like that? I mean, I know why, but imagine I'm somebody watching this for the first time.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was saying, man. I was like, I'm not sure if it's because of time restraints that they couldn't really lay all this stuff in place. If you ask me, if you're working with a CG animated show, you should have ample of time, because it's not like you're doing like 2D cell animation. You putting in hours and hours of among work for the animation. You just basically working with 2D. If you ask me, these episodes should have each been 40 minutes,
or 8 episodes,
or eight, or it probably would need to be more than that for them to just pretty much establish what they're trying to go for, you know, in terms of why these characters do what they do.
But and true. But then again, it's like I could argue for more episodes, because one of the biggest criticisms I have about the show, I do think it is too short. It's too short. But the other thing too is when I found out, because like you said, like before the show came out, I kind of messed around. I went on Wikipedia and I went and looked it up, and then that's when I found out about the toy line and shit. And I'm like, oh wait, we gonna go to Earth in the very next. I'm like, dude, I wanted the whole series. Dude, we could have done 3 seasons just on Cybertron.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like when you're moving at a breakneck pace and you're trying to jump into another story arc, a lot of stuff is going to get left out, and you're never going to be able to go back to that stuff again. You know, it's going to be a forward momentum based series like that. And I'm not down with that business model. Like, I feel like they could have just easily given us 40 minutes an episode if they're going to condense it down to 6.
Yeah,
but then again, you know, considering the fact that it is a toy line and they only have so many character models to work with, they probably were limited to what they could do with the story and how many episodes they could tell. Because one thing about Transformers, even though this has been a staple with Transformers, you have something called remolds and you have something called recolors. Have you ever heard of a recolor before?
Isn't that when they just take a character that exists and they recolor them and make them a new character? Isn't that Sound Blaster? Yeah,
Sound Blaster is a recolor.
Yeah.
And like the most, like, the guilty factors of this are the Seekers, which are the Jet Starscreams, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you only know them because of their color scheme.
Yeah, and they have, if you notice, they had a lot of Starscream recolors up in there for like stand-in extras. And I think it was another one too. I'm not sure if you know Sideswipe.
Yeah, Simon, that's my dog.
Yeah, Sideswipe, he has a lot of recolors too. Like Red Alert gets a pass because, you know, he shares the same build with Sideswipe, just like Cliff Jumper shares the same build with Bumblebee.
Dude, no, because I'm watching the damn show and I'm like, oh, sweet, Cliff Jumper. No, that's not Cliff Jumper. I was like, what? And then he pops up again and I'm like, finally, my man Cliff Jumper. No, that's not Cliff. What? Dude, I got mad.
They got me a few times, like when I was like, oh, snap, that's Chromia? No, that's Moonracer. I'm like, what?
Yeah, dude, yeah. Dude, that's why when RC finally showed up, I'm like, nah, I know that's RC.
Right. It's like, you know, you're so familiar with those signature builds, but when they just totally throw you out of left field with the colors, it's like, oh man, it's like y'all are just throwing these guys in just because you need stand-ins. And like, if you notice, anytime you see like Autobots getting repaired, they're usually just Cliff Jumper recolors.
Yep, because it's like the same mold.
Right, the same molds. And I'm like, okay, they obviously are just working with what they have, you know. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they couldn't just go in depth fully with this whole factionism plot entails, you know. They couldn't just adapt it to the fullest.
But that would make more sense though, because if you're gonna do that whole thing, you're gonna see a lot of the same types of Transformers.
That is true, but it's like with that story, there are so many different Transformers, you know what I'm saying? Like I said,
so many different molds, you mean?
So many different molds and actual characters that, you know, that story is based off of. You know, like I said, you have the different like roles, and then you have characters who are famous because of their roles, and the toys, they don't have those characters available. You know,
gotcha.
You don't have the council that consists of 12 members, you know, who actually constructed this whole functionism law and everything like that. It's like they don't have any of that, so we just had to watch what we were given.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start jumping into some of these characters, man, because we were already beating up on Optimus. We were talking about edgy Optimus. Yeah, dude. I wasn't a fan of Optimus in this one, dude. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Young, inexperienced Optimus, right? We've done that.
Mhm.
We did it in War for Cybertron, the video game.
Right.
Because in that story, Optimus becomes, he inherits the matrix of leadership from Rodimus in that story. And we see, but dude, like the way, okay, so here's the thing. Optimus, dude, it's so funny because I've just gotten done talking about this like the last 2 months on my damn channel, and it's coming up again. Young Optimus is King Arthur.
Right.
Up until he pulls that damn sword out of the stone, or until he puts that damn matrix in his chest, he is essentially King Arthur. That's what he is, right? He's a young knight. No, he's a squire that is forced into a conflict where he becomes a soldier, and then it becomes a reluctant knight.
Mm-hmm.
And from a reluctant knight becomes a necessary king.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it's like there aren't, like, Optimus doesn't necessarily, like, he doesn't go through any angst. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like it's growing pains, because at the end of the day, Optimus's characterization more often than not has always reflected that of Superman. He is that sort of surrogate father figure that always does the right thing.
And you know what, too? Now that you bring up the idea of Superman, that leads me to this point. Is it me, or does this story kind of feel like the beginning of Man of Steel in a sense, where you have one person who has this ideology of preserving their race and stuff like this, and you have this other person that's gonna risk their race by taking this certain artifact that the race is highly dependent on and go to this other location or whatever? Because that's what I was getting. I kind of was getting like a Jor-El versus
Zod, yeah,
kind of
but
vibe behind it.
but that's kind of but then again, I mean, Transformers has always had that, because in other origins, it's Megatron wants to conquer.
Right, but that's never been like a certain kind of MacGuffin that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Megatron. You remember in the War for Cybertron games, Optimus said, "We just want to leave." Megatron didn't want them to leave. He's like, "You ain't going nowhere." You know?
Yeah. Megatron was trying to institute a military state. Yeah.
You know,
or rather, he did institute a military state, which is why they were fighting to escape. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it was never about like him going to get this artifact or this legendary thing or this mythological thing and taking it so that they can ensure their race later down the line and probably return to the planet. It was nothing like that, you know. It's like Cybertron.
Yeah, I see the Man of Steel comparison, because the Allspark could rewrite the Autobots, because that's what Megatron wanted it for. Right. So yeah, just like the Codex sort of like rewriting Kryptonian DNA, yeah.
Right, because the Allspark didn't, like the Bay movies, they could just basically transform or make different Autobots out of technology and stuff like that. Well,
yeah, because in the one credit I'll actually give the Bay movies is that like the Allspark in those movies made more sense, in the sense that it's the life force, right? So it can always create new Cybertronians. Mm-hmm. It's just and you know, it's like, oh, you can use it to revive, right? You can use it to revive a Cybertronian, or if it comes in contact with our technology, it will create a Cybertronian.
Exactly.
Or it can consume a Cybertronian. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So like there it made sense. I feel like this series is probably going to use it as sort of like it does whatever we need it to do.
Right.
You know, but yeah, no, I see the Man of Steel comparison now, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's No, I mean, hell, that's probably how they got the idea. I'm pretty sure
That's probably, exactly. That's what I was thinking, man. But yeah, in regards to the character of Optimus, like I wasn't too keen on it because, like I said, he kind of comes off dumb. Like he's a little too naive for my taste. You know, at least with the other interpretations, like the previous iterations of Optimus, he's always had this stern, you know, go for the gusto personality, and he's sure with his, you know, ideas and stuff like that. But this one right here is like, you know, we just have to do it just because. Like, even when you have characters like Alita 1 telling him, you know, this is going to be a trap, right? You know, and he's like, you know, we got to do it anyway because we got to do what's good. And sure enough, it blows up in his face like that. You know, like that trap that the Decepticons did on them. Like, I just don't think that this Optimus fits what I like about him, you know, compared to the other ones.
Right. So yeah, I didn't, and then yeah, I didn't like dark, edgy, you know, sort of like gritty.
Yeah,
I didn't
didn't
like True Grit Optimus. That's what I'm calling him. I'm calling him True Grit Optimus.
True Grit, yeah. And then we also I know I'm not the only one that thinks this. Did the voice acting kind of seem off?
It did, because I forget the actor's name. What is it? Jason
Jeff Fushi?
Yeah. Because he goes in and out.
Right.
He goes in and out. That's why he's trying to do Cullen. He's trying to do Cullen.
Right.
And then he just defaults to his regular voice.
Right.
So yeah, there's an inconsistency there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a major inconsistency. I think it was an inconsistency with three characters because, like, Megatron kind of has this same problem where it sounds a little too wooden and delayed, like with each word. And I think Jetfire too, he does that. You know, those three characters who all kind of come off as hard-boiled have this slow way that almost sounds like William Shatner from Star Trek, where we don't know what we should do. You know,
but Megatron pulls it off more.
He does,
because Megatron's doing that whole like silent stoic shit.
Yeah, he is. But that's the same thing. There's a duality between Megatron and Optimus to where they both kind of have that going for them. And there are a lot of comparisons made that both of them are stubborn in their own ways. You know.
Dude, but you can't get. Well, you mentioned that with Optimus. Dude, what's more stoic than a nigga not even having a mouth?
Well, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
You just see the muzzle move, like,
right. And I always got to bring this up because the Bay fans, they say, hey, at least the Bay Optimus has personality and stuff like that because of the visor. I was like, do y'all even know where you got the visor from? That started with Optimus Primal. You know what I'm saying? You remember Optimus Primal had a little...
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like usually something like that would work for Optimus, but for here, it's like the dialogue is just so weird and slow. And there are times where I felt like, man, am I gonna have to speed this up just so it can sound normal?
Yeah, it is wooden.
It's very wooden.
And the thing, because this is the other thing too. Like, I felt like they were trying to write Optimus as like, you know, because we've done this before, right? Where it's like anytime he speaks, it's almost fucking it's almost like a speech.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like every time he says something is so like prophetic and it's so impactful. You know what I mean? And it's like it's either that or he's giving a direct order, right? And that's the only time Optimus talks, right? Okay. But we've done that, and we've done that well, because Transformers Prime does that. Because Optimus doesn't talk that often in that show, and anytime he does open his mouth, it's important. Here, when we do get downtime with Optimus, because he's one of the few characters we actually get downtime with. Why is it every time he's talking, it's like he's trying to deliver like this line?
Yeah, he's trying to give the big hoorah, but it just comes off so uninspired and
and meanwhile, fucking Megatron's filling stadiums, giving speeches and shit, which I loved because for the longest time I'm like, dude, I want my Southern Baptist Megatron. I've been waiting for that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Megatron has been characterized as somewhat I guess you could say, a religious zealot.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Because he took his name. Shit, even his name comes from Megatronus.
Yeah, he comes from Megatronus, aka the Fallen.
Right. So and Megatron has always had this whole thing where it's like the glory of Cybertron for the glory of Cybertron, right? So it's like we know the obvious parallel is we're doing Adolf Hitler. That's the obvious parallel we're drawing. The analogy we're drawing with Megatron and the stadium of Decepticons and stuff like that. But I love my Southern Baptist preacher Megatron. I love him. He does not get to do it enough in this series.
No, he doesn't.
And every time he does it, it's always on a down note.
Right.
He doesn't do any like rally cries.
Yeah.
Except for when whatchamacallit gets killed. That's the only time. And even then, it's not like a rousing sort of thing. It's like we're going to avenge him sort of thing. It's like he's trying to capitalize off of the quote unquote myth of defeat. And it's like, oh, we took such a great loss today, but we will rise again. But it's not, it's not a oorah. And I'm like, right. Megatron's an oorah motherfucker.
He is. Like if like this guy that they have, he's a good voice actor, but I don't think he captures the essence of what Frank Welker lent to that role. Like back in the 80s when Frank Welker voiced Megatron, parents were calling in complaining because this was a scary character, and to not have that, like I know it's kind of funny for this time because it's kind of like, Fred, is that you? Fred? But
Freddy?
Yeah. It's like he doesn't have that hoorah, like you said, it just comes off very dark and talking like this. I have my diplomacy. And like these characters, like even though they're robots, they shouldn't sound robotic. They all have charisma in a sense, and none of that is really coming out like with these particular characters. Starscream nailed it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That actor nailed it. I know the original actor died, and it's almost like the soul of that actor just jumped into this voice actor and just like delivered a perfect Starscream.
Yeah,
very duplicitous, very cunning, and has his own agenda.
Actually, though, Starscream's not very duplicitous. Not in this one. No, because he straight up tells Jetfire to his face. And I'm like, dude, I am not accustomed to a Starscream with those types of fucking bolts on him, bro. Like, he talked, dude, in Jetfire's face at least 2 times.
Right.
Like you don't have the stomach for this. You are not cut to be the leader, right? Like,
well, you know how he is. So it's like he has that personality, but as soon as Megatron comes lurking out of the shadows, it's like he changes his tune. Like, oh, Megatron, you weren't talking about anything, just about how glorious of a leader you are. Like when
but that's the thing, though. He didn't really have to dick ride Megatron in this because he had a scapegoat. Jetfire was his scapegoat, so all he had to do was just keep throwing Jetfire under the bus, which Jetfire kind of allowed to happen because he wasn't as extreme as the other two.
Right. If anything I can say about Jetfire is like they did a complete 180 with him. Like I see where they were going with him, but there were a lot of things that I was like, do you really have to be this way? Do you really have to be callous? It's like you don't give a reason why you're so callous and showing blind allegiance to Megatron. You know what I'm saying? Like there should have been certain motivations that they actually explained for him. Because there's like one instance where Starscream is just cheering for Megatron as he gives the speech, and like Jetfire bumps into him like, you want to lose that arm again? And la 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 la. And I'm like, why is he such an arrogant a-hole in this?
Because he got to work with Starscream.
I know you got to work with Starscream, but come on. I was like, you can't just act like, you're just this Billy badass, and and I got to be tough like this, but then I have, certain respect for the Autobots. Come on. Like Jetfire,
I bought it.
It's like it's cool, but that's not my Jetfire. Jetfire is supposed to be this scientist who actually is more softer than the others and who's not really on that same kind of Decepticon wave of just being brutal and fucking up niggas just because he has to. You know, he just does.
I actually think Jetfire was probably one of the better characters in the show. What they did with him. Did it necessarily have to be Jetfire that they chose those? Like you said, like did it have to be Jetfire? I could see that debate. But he's one of the characters. I think he's actually one of the better ones in the show, in my opinion.
Like him, and I think Bumblebee. Like Bumblebee is a cool change in a way.
I didn't care for this version of Bumblebee though.
I kind of like it because Bumblebee is usually your typical smaller little brother figure that you just loves looking up to the other guys like Optimus, and in here they just turn them into this kind of selfish scavenger, you know, looter.
He's Han Solo.
Right. He doesn't necessarily care what side he is, and that's what I like. I like characters that create this gray area where they're not looking to line with any other, you know, side. You know, they're just looking out for themselves.
But that's not Bumblebee though.
It's not, but you know,
find another character to do that with. Don't do that with Bumblebee. Bumblebee is the soldier. Like you go to Webster's dictionary right now and you look up soldier and you're gonna see Bumblebee pictured up.
Yeah, but you got to think about it too. This is a fresh take compared to what we've been getting, because let's be honest.
And why is it that Bumblebee has to be in the center of everything?
I don't know. I really don't know. That's the thing. It's like ever since like
merchandisable.
Ever since Michael Bay has kind of helped this character rise to prominence and become like literally, I think he's become the face of Transformers at this point. It's like he's always been written with that damaged voice box after that.
Yeah, that's annoying too.
And that's annoying. You know, so for us to get this different take on him, that's not like this little annoying robot that always gets into problems and that doesn't have a voice, that's good to me. That's new to me. I like that. I really like that. It's very fresh. You know, I wish they could have executed it better and shown why he's this chosen one or whatever. Yeah, I wish they could have actually went into more details about that and kind of fleshed that out with the whole Alpha Trion protocol MacGuffin or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't see that's the man. I kind of wish it wasn't Bumblebee though.
It goes back to what I said. They just work with what they had.
Oh, dude, you know what? You know what? I have to correct myself, dude. You know what's gonna be funny? Because when this archives after we get off the air, and because we almost an hour into this vid, and I promise you, dude, the comments are going to be loaded with people because I said the wrong freaking name earlier when I was talking about Optimus that he inherited. I said Rodimus. Sentinel, not Rodimus. It was Sentinel. And I promise you the comments are going to be low. Larry, I don't know what you're talking about. You said Rodimus. Oh, my God. You're not a real Transformers fan. Dude, I'm like, oh, my God. The comments. I'm going to have to deal with those comments, bro. Yeah. Oh, my God.
It happens all the time, man. It's like, you know, like with Transformers names, it's easy because like whenever, you know, like I mentioned Hot Shot from Transformers Armada, I accidentally say Hot Rod from time to time, and people eat me up in the comment section for that. So you know how it goes with Transformers, man.
But the reason I was just thinking about Rodimus is because it's like the role Bumblebee played in this. That's something I would have wanted for like Rodimus, for an example.
Yeah,
especially if we were going to eventually get to him as the leader. Him getting involved because he was selected for those Alpha Trion protocols, to me, that's the plausible setup. Like that would explain why he's there. You know what I mean? Because at that point, then it's like, oh, like, you know, like he was selected for that, but then of course he loses it to the virus, and then later becomes worthy of the Matrix. You know, like that would have been a nice little kind of setup for him. And if you take in consideration the fact that once Bumblebee get those Alpha Trion protocols, essentially, like you said, he's a MacGuffin.
Right.
Like, I mean, well, why not just do that to a character that only needs to be there for that purpose?
Yep.
And that could have been like Rodimus.
It could have.
And that's just the role he plays in this one. And then you bring him back later to play a bigger role later on.
Yeah, it really could have. And what kind of pisses me off about it is that this toy line that the show is based on has been out for almost like the better of 2 years. So they could have actually made additional characters to serve these particular roles that we're talking about. but they just sat on them. And sad to say, it's probably going to be like a similar outcome with these next couple of chapters too, where they're just going to play with what they have.
Well, but I mean, once they get to Earth, though, Earth has always been smaller parties.
Yeah, because you have some certain characters that are still on Cybertron.
Yeah, and I mean, if you like, I mean, almost every Transformers series, it's like when they get to Earth, it's only a handful of them at a time, really.
Right.
The Cybertronian Wars, that was the moment to like go all out and have like, you know, the whole roster. You know, because it kind of makes sense once they get to Earth, because it's more like guerrilla warfare. But yeah, let's see other characters. Well, I'm real quick. I'm gonna share the characters I liked the least. Alita 1 got on my ever loving nerves because all she did was cry and whine the whole damn series, and it was just obnoxious. And then there was another one. Who was the other one that just got on my? I was just like, I don't. Oh, you want to talk about Ultra Magnus, or should I?
Yeah, I was going to say he's a pointless character.
Dude, Ultra Magnus would have never done that.
He wouldn't have.
What Ultra Magnus does, he would have never done that. Him.
Yeah, they dropped the ball on my boy Ultra Magnus, man.
Dude, Ultra Magnus is like the most super militant Autobot that there is. Of all the possible Autobots that could do what I would have expected Bumblebee to do some shit like that, not Ultra Magnus. And I was just like, bruh. And then, I mean, this is spoilers, so warning, ladies and gentlemen, we fucking killed Ultra Magnus.
A waste, bro. A waste. And this is
fucking killed Ultra Magnus.
What irritates me about this the most is that this is a character that was showcased a lot throughout the promotional material, and it was put at the forefront of a lot of the trailers. And to just see him just sit there and do this stupid act and not really be seen that much, what was the point of even utilizing this character?
We fucking killed Ultra Magnus.
They killed my nigga Magnus, man. Like, bruh.
Oh man. I'm trying to think if there were any other characters though that I wanted to make sure I talked about, because everyone else was pretty cool for the most. Well, like I said, we don't have Cliff Jumper. I kind of wanted Cliff Jumper. I wish we got more Sideswipe, but you know, I'll take what I can get. The fact that he was there, because Jazz ain't there. I was mad as hell that Jazz wasn't there.
I don't even know why that character keeps getting left out and shafted either. Because
we don't really use. You know what's funny? We don't really use scouts that much.
We don't. We really don't. It's like they get neglected because they're the little guys.
Because what's the one scout we do have in the one who kept beefing with old boy?
You got Mirage.
Yeah. Mirage is really the only scout we have in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. So I'm like, what the hell? Because your scouts are your reconnaissance.
Exactly.
Like, dude, you're trying to repair a freaking space bridge. You're doing it under the Decepticons' nose in their territory. Wouldn't it make sense to have scouts on the ground? You know what I'm saying? Patrolling, like how come we don't have like a perimeter of scouts surrounding that damn space bridge?
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then let me see.
I liked what's his name? Impactor. I like his story. I like his face turn You know,
yes,
I'm saying if we want to use wrestling terms, his face turned from
yeah,
Decepticon to good guy.
yeah. Impactor is another one of those characters I thought was like one of the best in the show.
Yeah, because the way that's a highly neglected character in all the other mythos too. So for them to use him and change him up to where he's a Decepticon turned Autobot, that was really a really good part of the story to me.
We'll see. Here's the thing about that though. What I loved about it was the how we're not necessarily getting caught in binary conflict.
Right.
Because here's the thing. Impactor doesn't become an Autobot.
Right. He's just a loyal to like Ratchet for saving.
He said, "Hey man, I'm going on this mission to help my boy."
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so you had but remember his thing, because he was like, when I signed up for the war, I didn't sign up for this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's why he defected. And then we have the same thing with Jetfire. But with Jetfire, it was Megatron doesn't fight for what I thought he did. And so he's the full-blown turncoat that goes Autobot. But even amongst Impactor and Jetfire, there's it's similar because they both were Decepticons that decided to help the Autobots, but they have their own reasons.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then even with their motivations, their allegiances are still different.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because I have no doubt Impactor would have gone ape shit had the Autobots put Ratchet at harm.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, and then dude, even Ratchet, man, Ratchet's sort of like, dude, Ratchet is sort of the surprise. How do I put this? Ratchet is the adult of this series. Because for all of the till all are one talk,
mm-hmm.
Ratchet's the only one that actually did that.
Right.
Like, he's the one that he's like, hey man, this place is a refuge. Autobot, Decepticon, it doesn't fucking matter. Once they enter here, we help each other. And we protect each other. Because I love the scene when old girl was like, wait, you treat Decepticons in here? It's like, I treat anybody with need.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like your tone.
Yeah, you're disturbing my clients right now.
Yeah, he's like, don't get this shit twisted now. Just because, I'm trying to be, docile about this shit. If you threaten any of my patrons, we gonna have a problem. Because he tells that to Mirage, and he was like, you threaten my my patients, we gonna have a problem. Dude, Ratchet is the surprise adult of the series. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that there was, I mean, in many respects, dude, Ratchet is sort of right in the center of Optimus and Megatron.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In terms of leadership. Right.
He's the neutral guy. He's kind of like a realist in a way.
Yeah, he's Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
I choose. Dude, you remember Constantine? He's Papa Midnight. I choose no sides.
Yeah, I can see the comparison. I see that.
But yeah, no, Ratchet was cool. I'm trying to think who else was in there. I mean, we got Omega Supreme at the end, which I was like, took y'all long enough. I was like wondering when he was gonna pop up. I will say, man, the Alpha Trion thing though, kind of wish we would have got to see more of him. There should have been more flashback.
That should have. Like, if they're ever gonna do that, that's the only way they can do it now is through flashbacks. Like Alpha Trion is like
that's how Prime did it.
Huh?
That's how Prime did Alpha Trion. It was all flashback.
Right. They had a lot of flashbacks with that. And like that's like one of the key components to how the war got started and everything. Like once Megatron, I think, did away with Alpha Trion, killed him, that's when everything really kicked off, And like
so that is in the original continuity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like sometimes they call him Vector Prime, and you remember Vector Prime was up in the War for Cybertron games, and Megatron killed him to get the Omega key.
That was Sentinel.
I thought it was Vector.
I think that was Sentinel.
Oh,
because if memory serves, in War for Cybertron, Oh wait, what's that? Fall of Cybertron.
You probably thinking about Fall.
It's Fall. Oh yeah, yes, it's Fall of Cybertron. No, Vector, I think, is the final boss of the Decepticon campaign in War for Cybertron.
Yeah, like when Megatron gets the key, he has to go through that little barrier and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm trying to remember though, because remember, War for Cybertron is the co-op one.
Yeah,
and I'm like, because it's the three of y'all. Y'all have that boss battle, and then y'all have to escape.
Yeah, it's like a room with lasers and stuff. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that shit. Ooh, boy, I was heated. Yeah. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah.
And they just have so.
Wow, that's what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sometimes he's Vector Sigma, and other times he's Alpha Trion. Like the two are kind of synonymous with one another.
I like the Alpha persona.
I do too.
I like that persona better because he has the whole Confucius thing going on. Yeah.
But it's one thing that I wanted to harp on because I don't think that the show did a good job with this, and I'm surprisingly Hasbro didn't try to tell them to focus on this more, and that's the actual gimmick for the toys. They only do it a couple of times, and I think it's brilliant how they did it, but they didn't do it enough. Like, you remember that scene where Bumblebee, I think it was RC, or I think it was Bumblebee, Alita 1, and Cog. They had to sneak into Sound Blaster's base, or they had to do business with Sound Blaster.
That was RC, RC and Cog, I think.
Yeah, RC and Cog. Yeah,
when they want to steal the Energon. Right.
Oh man, I hate when they do this. Sorry if you hear that in the background. But there's a reason why they used this particular character, a Cog, because they couldn't have any weapons on them. And turns out that was the whole point, because Cog is a weapon. So they didn't really need anything. Because you notice, once they get discovered, for having this plan or whatever, Cog instantly becomes like this little shoulder-mounted blaster for RC to use, and that's actually one of the gimmicks of the War for Cybertron Siege toy line. They have this thing called Combat System, or Cybertronian Omnifunctional Modular Battlefield Assault Tech System, or something like that, where Transformers can become weapons, but they only use one, and it's like a Cog recolor, and it's Cog himself, and that's about it. And there were so many cool ideas that they could have utilized, but they didn't for some reason.
I get, what though? I get the feeling that's going to be a bigger thing in the next chapter.
It might, but
especially once they get on Earth.
Yeah, they got another gimmick for that though. They got armor and everything. They got this new armor system for that particular gimmick up in Earthrise.
Because I'm just thinking about it like this. It's like if the whole gimmick with the toys is that they change into weapons, then once we get to Earthrise, assuming they're still doing the whole robots in disguise thing, then it would make more sense that we would see more Transformers who could turn themselves into Earth-based weapons.
Yeah, maybe.
So, well, we'll see.
It just would have been cool to see Optimus utilize some of these features, like some of the special weapons that comes with his toy line.
Because you know what's funny about this though, dude. What's funny about this whole thing is it's like we know historically Transformers has always been a series, for the purpose of selling toys. What's different about this though, and why the notion that this has a toy line already. Number one, we're trying to sell toys through Netflix as opposed to syndicated television like we've always done. And number two, this series was specifically marketed towards adults, not children.
Right.
So you trying to sell me on the toys?
I mean, you got men who buy the toys too, collecting.
Yeah, but they would have bought it regardless. Show or no show. Those are the people that already own the toys.
I'm putting myself in young Frank's position, young Frank or 7-year-old Frank. He's gonna gain access to adult related, adults content any way he can, and if I catch this stuff and I see it, I want to get this toy too, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna want to see everything that the toy has to offer in the show,
I did the same damn thing with that Spawn HBO series when I was like 7. So
right.
You're right.
It's like I don't want to see Spider-Man with some cool blaster up in an action figure, and when I go to watch the animated series, he has none of this stuff.
Oh yeah. I have many a Batman toy like that.
Exactly. Got the armored knight Batman. You never see him. It's like Transformers usually does a good job of promoting all of these things, but this show doesn't really do that, even though they have access to all this stuff.
You know what else we don't do enough of? Because I read, like, I think I think it was IGN's review or something. I read that it was like, have you noticed how much the Transformers walk in this series, despite the fact that they have vehicle modes?
Yeah, some of them you don't even see the vehicle modes for. I forgot all about that.
A lot of them you don't see the vehicle mode for.
You don't see Elitas. You don't see RCs. They jump in a car. You remember, like, they jump in a car, like when Sound Blast and them discovers them?
Yeah.
I was like, come on, bro.
Odd. All right, let's see. What else did we want to cover?
Oh no, did you talk about how good the animation was? Did you have any particular things to say about the animation?
Actually, animation is the animation is what I thought it would be. It works. Considering that this is Rooster Teeth and whatnot. It's on par with what I expected, because it's not like full blown CG. It's not like video game CG.
Kind of has like a cell shaded look to it.
Yeah, but it's the right. It's like the right blend. It doesn't look like they're trying too hard, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it looks better. From what I can, you remember that Machinima series?
Oh yes, the Prime Wars trilogy. It looks way better than the Prime Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
That was such a lifeless look for the characters. Like, I could have made that on something like on a program if I wanted to.
I think it was made in Flash.
It probably was, because the frame rate was bad and the animations, as far as the choreography, was very stiff.
Yeah, this one, I do, but okay. What I will say about this animation, though, it wasn't as kinetic as I wish it was.
Yeah.
They move like machines.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think the animators, they tried to make sure that everything just looked as practical as possible, since they work with those characters. So each character has to move a certain way. Certain walk animations have to look that way because of how the models are. One thing that I'll say that I was kind of disappointed with was like the actual fight choreography.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of lacking compared to something that we've seen with like War for Cybertron. You remember that fight that Optimus has with Megatron at the end of Fall of Cybertron? It looks.
Oh, of course. I've played it twice.
Yeah, it's kind of like in a wrestling sense. It tells a story. There's a story behind it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to say who I enjoyed playing with more.
I enjoy playing with Megatron.
Do I remember that shit? Dude, when Megatron grabs Optimus and he like pulls his arm and he kicks him in his chest, like, oh,
right, like he was not playing.
And then, dude, isn't there a part in that fight where it's like when Optimus falls and you like grab his head and then it's like press the button and it's like pow and it's like press, boom, boom, boom.
So you have to slam his face into the pavement and stuff and then throw him. I'm like, bro, it's like, give me that choreography. Like,
yeah, dude. And then of course, it's nothing like it's nothing like what we get with like Prime, for an example, which is full blown CG.
Right.
But the thing I always appreciated with Prime is like, because like the way those characters were designed, they look more organic.
Right.
Like they look more alien as opposed to just strictly machine.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not all hard edged. They have like curved. I mean, Megatron. I fucking love Megatron's design in fucking Prime. And yeah, dude, there's so much of him that's like curved.
Right.
Like, you know, like he's kind of designed like a knife.
Yeah, they kind of cross-pollinated the Bay aesthetic with the classical aesthetics and kind of simplified it in a sense to where it's not too complicated and all the gears and stuff like that. That's what I appreciate. I think they even have like the same screenwriters from the movie serve as producers for that show.
Well, I'm glad all they did was produce and not write.
Hey, I like Transformers 1 and 2. Like they didn't write the other ones, but I like Transformers 1.
Yeah, 1. 1 was fine.
It's like 2, there was a lot of pressure, you know, the screenwriters thing, you know, protests going on, whatever.
You talking about the writer's strike?
Yeah, the writer's strike.
Yeah, just wait on it. That's how you fix that. Wait on it. You didn't have to put another one out 2 years later. Didn't nobody ask you for another one that soon?
Right. Hey, you know how it is, man. Once you see Hasbro and Paramount hit that gold mine, it was like we have to rush and try to get this sequel out.
No, you make them niggas wait.
That's what I would have did.
You make them wait. Anyway, but yeah, like the animation I thought was fine, like you said though. But the choreography is kind of stiff. You know, they definitely look like machines.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but other than that, I mean, for the most part, it's fine. Cybertron is pretty much it looks the way I thought it would.
Yeah, it looks like a dying planet.
Yeah. That's sort of what I expected. And since you gave us that explanation about like why it was there weren't a lot of characters, I'm like, yeah, because this planet is oddly depopulated.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Where is everyone? They can't all be dead.
Mm-hmm. I was like, there should be a lot more characters here, but it's just so empty for some reason. It's like nobody's evacuated.
Whole cities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I thought was odd. But yeah, but other than that, I mean, animation was fine.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You know, like I expect nothing less from Polygon. Like these guys have been doing some top tier CG animation since I think Street Fighter 4. Like they used to do like these opening cutscenes for video games like Street Fighter 4.
Oh, okay.
Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they did the opening cutscenes for those.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're the truth when it comes to that.
So then they can do like because the one thing I was worried about, I'm like, dude, if we gonna do, you know, if they go into Earth in the very next one, I'm assuming we're gonna have human characters.
Yeah, they gotta come with some.
So I was curious, like, what the human characters were gonna look like in this series.
Yeah, I'm wondering that same thing. I'm pretty sure they're gonna go in like a kind of semi-realistic look for the characters.
Really? So we're not gonna do like a stylized anime?
I'm not expecting them to look like the humans did in Prime.
Oh no, not that. But I mean,
they might do an anime. I don't know.
I think. Well, we got to see. Well, because once we get to Earth, we have a whole. Dude, there's so many other fucking bad. Because now we got to start doing proportion.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Which is another reason why you keep the goddamn show on Cybertron, so you don't have to worry about that. See, now we're gonna have to start doing proportion because they're supposed to be giant.
Mm-hmm.
And all that jazz. I'm not looking forward to. I don't care about them on Earth.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody coming to see the human characters.
I don't really care because the Earthwise figures, they're basically even more simplified compared to the designs on Cybertron. They basically just look like G1. It's just going to be G1 design with CG in it. Just more streamlined, very basic looking.
All right, I'll take what I can get.
I'm more interested in Kingdom than anything since they're going to have Beast Wars. Oh, I also forgot to mention too, Larry, like getting back on that whole voice acting critique.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Chalk, which is the voice actor for Optimus Prime from the Beast Wars, he even harped on this and said that stuff like it just felt wooden. He said they felt like they were trying to be too cool. That's what he said.
Yeah. I agree with that assessment. I agree with that.
The king has spoken. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even sure if he's going to want to get involved with this, like get involved with Kingdoms, since that's supposedly going to have Optimus Primal.
Now, see, but here's the thing that trips me out about that, though. Isn't Beast Wars like 2,000 years in the future?
Yeah, it's like 4,000 years. 4,000 years in the past, I think.
In the past?
Yeah, because somehow they got sent back into a prehistoric age, and they actually saw the Autobots while they were still in stasis lock. It's like the Autobots hadn't woken up on Earth yet, even though their ship had been crash landed there. It's crazy.
Wait. Stop. Sure. You're saying that during the events of Beast Wars, the Autobots were in stasis on Earth.
Yeah.
So then who's going to be on Earthrise?
I don't know. They always change these stories up. Like the comic book, they have their own version of how the Beast Wars story is told. So they might go with that. It's like they just had Cheetor up in Transformers Cyberverse.
There's no way they can do it accurately to the timeline, because it's like, if the Autobots are still in stasis during Beast Wars, okay, that's fine. What the fuck is your second chapter gonna be about?
Right. I was like, if you're gonna do Kingdom, why is Kingdom in third instead of just second?
Second, right. Oh man, that's so confused.
So they probably just be like, this is gonna be a prequel, even though it's right here. We're gonna just say that this is what happened before the Autobots woke up.
Unless Kingdom is gonna be flashback, the whole thing gonna be flashback,
right?
But ain't enough time in the day, ladies and gents. Ain't enough time in the day. All right, man. That one made my head hurt though, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That one threw me off. Okay.
It happens, man.
So, all right. So let's get ready to wrap this thing up. Cause I mean, for the most part, I pretty much said my piece about the series. I expected more. Sure, maybe my expectations were too damn high, and that's my own damn fault. That's quite possible. It happens quite often, especially with something like this. When the trailer for this dropped, I lost my man. I was like, oh my god, I nerdgasmed all over the place. So yes, I admit, okay, maybe my expectations were too high. For what it is, it's fine.
Yeah.
But because of what it is, it could have been so much better.
So much. And, if you're gonna use that name, the War for Cybertron name, try to come with something that makes the previous thing that used that name. Try to make it better.
Yeah.
You're not even on the same level.
Yeah, that was the thing because why else would you use the name?
You're they're depending on it for nostalgic purpose. They know people like have nostalgia goggles on tight, and they're gonna think that that's what it is when it's not. It's almost like false advertisement in a sense.
Yeah. I guess I agree with that. Damn, it still trips me out when I think about it. That game is 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. They just shut the servers down on it.
Oh, for real?
Yep, the servers are down. They're gone.
Dang. Well, I mean, motherfuckers shipped off that game like a year after the fact.
I mean, it was a lot of. You would be surprised. There's a lot of dedicated people that were still playing the game. Like they were doing stuff with it. There's a guy named Johnny Flash that used to do these things called machinimas.
Mm-hmm.
Where they basically just get online and they have people play certain roles and they record it like an episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people were still doing stuff with it, but I guess after the licensing agreement expired between Hasbro and Activision. They was like, well, we got to go ahead and put the final nail in the coffin and just wipe our hands with this.
Yeah, man, I've been waiting for them to. God, I wish we could have gotten another one, but yeah. I mean, considering where they took the story, where we ended. Well, cause see, that was the funny thing about those games too. I didn't expect Fall of Cybertron to be the last one.
I didn't either. Well, technically, Fall of Cybertron wasn't necessarily the last Transformers game. It was just the last one in that story arc.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah, I didn't because remember, at the end of that game, either one shall stand, the other shall fall.
Mm-hmm.
One of them dies at the end of that game, and I'm like, whoa, like, man, y'all, like, this is it. And I still think they could have made a third one.
They could have,
because you could have very easily have just like the third one could have been the one that took place on Earth, and you could have just very easily had it to where it's like, who did you play with as the last character in the previous game? Oh, if you played as Megatron, then your main opponent for that campaign is Ultra Magnus. If you played as Optimus, your main opponent for that campaign is either Starscream or Galvatron.
Mm.
So we could have kept it going.
Yeah, we could have. We ended up getting the redheaded stepchild in the form of Rise of the Darkspark, though.
I never played it. I'm gonna trust you. You said it was hot trash. I'm gonna trust that, but I heard it actually wasn't that bad.
Certain aspects of it is not bad, but the way like they try to make it into this one cohesive story where we're trying to say that it's a prequel to Transformers Revenge of the what am I saying Revenge of the Fallen? Now I'm talking about a bad movie. Fall of Cybertron, and they're trying to combine it with the live action Bayverse. It just doesn't make any sense. And then they they start stumbling on their own feet when they try to incorporate certain other things like this dark spark that's supposed to be the antithesis to the matrix of leadership, and Megatron has the dark spark, but this is supposed to be a prequel to Fall of Cybertron. I don't even want to cuss, but when did Megatron get this dark spark? If the last time we saw him put his new body, which is in this prequel, the last time we saw him put his new body to the test against Optimus was at the very end of Fall of Cybertron. But for some reason, he's facing off with Optimus in the middle of this story with the new body. It's like certain things just don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? We saw Megatron get destroyed. He gets his new body and stuff, and he meets up with Optimus again at the tail end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see him get no dark spark. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here, you mentioned there was something in particular you wanted to rant about, and I'm trying to, because I was like, ooh, save that then. Did we get to that? Did we cover that?
I mean, we kind of already did. I just gave it to you in bits as we went along.
It wasn't one. It wasn't one whole tirade.
I started to. I was like, well, since we're gonna kind of segue in everything, I'm just gonna go ahead and just give it because we kind of went off the cuff and did our own thing anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, just closing thoughts, final thoughts on this. I mean, it's not a bad show. I would still recommend it. I would just not consider it a definitive origin by any means. It's not definitive. And I would also say, do yourself a favor and just go watch fucking Prime.
Or go watch the cutscenes to War for Cybertron.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
It's like that can be an epic movie in and of itself. So just go on YouTube, search up War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, and just go ahead and marathon through it.
Yeah, I have. I've seen the cutscene movie for Fall of Cybertron. Dude, that gridlock scene though, I remember that, boy. I was like, oh my god, dude, that was so fucking tight.
Oh yeah.
That was so tight.
It's like it's always good to go on that power trip.
Oh, dude, gridlock. Oh my god. All right. So yeah.
Yeah. If you guys want to hear my thoughts, like if I'm gonna rate this, I'll give it a light 7. You know what I'm saying? Like
7 out of 10.
Yeah, light 7 out of 10. It actually does a good job of just kind of like showing you the basic premise of the Cybertronian war. You know what I'm saying? And it incorporates a few new things to the different characters and stuff like that, but it just doesn't do a good job of executing itself, and it doesn't have enough time to. So that's why I give it a 7. Like for a casual person just wanting to, watch something, I say give it a try. You'll probably give it like an 8 or a 9 because some people are just really high on this series for some reason. I don't necessarily agree, but I can kind of see if you're coming in, because if you want something different from what you've seen from G1, you'll get that. You'll see a totally different side to the Autobot and Decepticons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see how I can see why it's as popular, why it's getting the reception, because those other we didn't promote those other Transformer shows,
right?
The ones after Prime, we didn't promote them, we didn't showcase them. And this one is getting like mainstream attention. That's the thing.
Yeah, I can say this, like the shows at the Prime were like a huge decline in quality, if you ask me. Like that's when they just became like, And 2 of them are for little kids. Yeah, you got Rescue Bots. I forgot Rescue Bots is considered in the line.
Yeah, and then there's that other one. What was that other one called? Transformers.
Yeah, Cyberverse just came out.
What was that other one called? Like Transformers Action or something like that. But that was the other little kiddie one. So it's like, yeah, like we weren't, giving it its giving it the line. It wasn't getting the attention.
Right. Yeah. Like this one obviously has a lot of production value put in it. The studio Allspark Productions, I think was what it's called.
Allspark Animation.
Yeah, Allspark Animation. They worked in close tandem with Polygon to produce this show. So it definitely has like a lot of production put into it and a lot of marketing. So yeah, like give it a watch. It doesn't take that long. You can binge through it in less than like 3 hours if you don't have anything to do. Yeah, I had to watch it twice because I was kind of in my own world and looking at my phone the first time. But shows what I think about the series. Light 7, it barely got that. So,
all right, cool, man. So yeah, that's gonna go ahead. That's gonna wrap up this review, my man. Tell the people where to find you, bro.
Yes, if you want to find me, you can go over to the channel called RandomBlackGamer, where I talk about Transformers, the latest Marvel game, and the newest Spider-Man game that just got mentioned. You can also find me on Twitter at RandomBlackGame, delete the R, and you can find me on Instagram at RandomBlackGamer88. So yeah, come hit your boy up.
That's right, and of course, if you want to avoid the typing, one of the fastest ways to find them, if you are already watching this video, click on my channel. When you are on my channel, go to the, what is it? It's the OAW recommends, but it's the channel list. On my channel, you will find Random Black Gamer listed. That's another quick way to find them. But yeah, I want to thank you so much for joining me again tonight. Look at Maine. We about to get off, bro.
Oh my God. Do you always have to pop in late?
Dude. Yeah, dude, man, boy, that's some serious CPT there, dude. We are just about to log. I'm doing the outro, and Maine wanna pop in the comments. But yeah, so once again, I want to thank everyone for watching live. I want to thank everyone for watching after the fact. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow me on social media, facebook.com/OAW Entertainment, twitter.com/OAWENTMT, twitch.tv/OAW_entertainment. Of course, here at youtube.com/OAW Entertainment. And last but certainly not least, if you have a request for a television series or an anime that you would like to see reviewed right here on OAW Entertainment, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. Select either the Crunchyroller or the Blockbuster tier, whichever one suits your fancy. In addition to your request for a review, you also get access to our Patreon exclusive content, the OAW Vault, which is the collection of the original first 2 seasons of Otaku Assemble Weekly, which was the original anime and manga review web series that kicked off the channel. And you also get an invite to join in on the live monthly Q&A right here on the OAW YouTube channel, as well as the OAW Facebook page. And because I can now, with my StreamYard subscription, stream to three destinations, I'm probably going to go ahead and start putting the Q&A on Twitch. I'm probably going to start putting it on Twitch too. So once again, that is patreon.com/OAW. All right. What to keep an eye out for me later this week? I have I have a manga first impressions that I finally need to get to because I've been putting it off. So I'm finally going to get to that. And I think it's either going to be a discussion of the week or a top 5 this Friday. It's going to be one of those. But keep an eye out for that. All right. Time for us to get out of here. This has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief.
And this has been your boy, RandomBlackGamer, a.k.a. RBG.
And we will catch you all later. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?